44 minutes with Chreesmak.
Be nice to him. I will. Okay, no, seriously, Chrees. Okay. First of all, how are you feeling?
Look at how small this cup is. Look at how small this cup is. It looks like I'm a giant.
It actually, can I tell you, normally when people hold tiny cups and they're like, oh, it looks like I'm a giant, it doesn't, because it's like they're holding like an espresso cup. That actually makes you look like you are a giant holding, because it looks like a normal size cup.
What kind of hotel is this?
Well, Chris, how are you feeling, first of all? Because Chris was sick, too.
Oh, look.
What are you showing me?
I'm feeling good.
Oh, well, how's your cough?
Cough is still there, but it's going away. They give me an inhaler, and it's called a tornado inhaler.
Why?
I don't know, because it spins the vapor into your mouth.
Oh, Jesus. You know, a lot of people are sick right now. I think that might be contributing. So first of all, Chris, because I feel like maybe you're feeling it too. I know that you, for like the Erica Legacy Foundation, are probably feeling it there as well.
Oh, I'm feeling it.
Yeah, I feel like I've been getting a lot of DMs lately of just not even like people saying like what specifically is going on, just like thanking me or the Poop Coven for just having a place. And I just wanted to know, like, okay, so when you work at the Erica Legacy Foundation, what is sort of like the average call that you'll get? Like, is it just people who need like suicide prevention, or do you also just get calls about like in need for mental health stuff?
No. So here's something that is actually, it's interesting to me, but it's not that interesting because I would have expected it. And it's why Erica Legacy is really a proactive charity and foundation. Most people don't want to kill themselves. There are obvious reasons why people do. There is mental health issues that are like, I'm schizophrenic, and there are medical reasons. But most people don't want to. But most people have anxiety and depression, and they're scared, and they're so sweet. Mm-hmm. And my typical call is, here is what a typical call is.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, in chat, if this resonates with anybody, I guarantee you we'll have put one in the chat if it resonates with you.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you we'll have a bunch of ones. A typical call is a person that says, hey, I have a lot of shit going on in my life. It's feeling really heavy. I don't know what to do. I believe there is a plan for my life in the universe, whatever person of the universe I believe in. I believe I'm here for a reason. I don't know why. I know there's like a map for my life. Mm-hmm. Can you help me at least find the first steps of that map? Because I'm fucking lost, but I know that I have skill and I have a brain and I like people and I know I can do stuff. I'm just fucking lost.
Yeah.
And because I'm lost, I have anxiety and I'm scared and I have acid reflux at night and I'm depressed. And that's what happens.
So when you get calls like that, and I feel like I would put one in too sometimes, like you just feel lost, confused, directionless. Yeah. I would. So my question is, like, what would be kind of like your staple advice that you give somebody who's feeling that way?
Well, first off, I tell people to come here, actually. A lot of times. And I don't even mean you. I mean on Twitch, online, because a lot of times people that feel that way aren't leaving their house a lot.
They're isolated.
They're isolated.
Right.
And they don't have the energy. So coming on here and becoming friends with people.
Right.
But what I tell people is, number one is to really take stock of how you feel and make note of it.
Okay.
And kind of make a diary or a journal, if you will, of how I feel, who's around me when I feel this way, why do I think I'm feeling this way, what it felt like. Because then you can look at that journal afterwards and you can say, oh shit, I kind of felt this way. So I'm going to research and see if there's interventions or stuff I can do just about the specific thing that I felt on Tuesday. Tuesday I felt really anxious because I noticed on TV they were talking about unemployment and I don't have a job, and it made me really nervous.
Yeah. Well, what I like about your idea too is not only that you can go back and be like, oh, how did I feel on Tuesday? But it also keeps like a log. So you can see like how frequently you're feeling this way, and you can look back, and then hopefully one day you'll look back and be like, oh, I haven't felt this way in a really long time. You can also, maybe like you said, you can also start identifying triggers, right?
And that's the thing. And you know me, I love a good log.
Yeah.
And
you son of a bitch.
I do. I have very healthy log.
You had to slide that joke in there.
I always slide a log out.
Yeah. You do 6 times a day.
Sometimes, yeah. And the next thing I tell people, though, is really important.
Yeah.
Because people always say, you're never alone, and it always feels like you're alone, or it's just you this is happening to. But aside from the idea of it's just you that this is happening to, people seem to forget that you should take it day by day, minute by minute sometimes. Right. Don't look at the totality of all the shit you're going through, because it will just drown you.
Yeah.
Currently in the Poop Witch X Discord, the Poop Coven Discord, there is a couple of people talking about how they have a lot of shit in their life going on right now, and it's just drowning them.
Yeah.
And what I tell people to do is look at your strengths, look at what gives you that anxiety and what gives you that triggers you, but take it day by day, piece by piece.
Yeah.
Take your big chunks, make them into malleable chunks, and slowly work on them. Nobody says you have to get it all done tomorrow.
Right. I think also that helps, especially in like a crisis too. I think that's like what people like Snash, when they are on the phone with somebody. Snash is a 911 operator. Anytime you're dealing with any type of, like, if you're in crisis, whether it's, a physical crisis, a mental health crisis, taking things, slowing it down and breaking it up into its smaller pieces makes they taught us that when we were training for an EMT, like, go piece by piece. You have a checklist that you have to go through. Because if you look at the totality of like a car crash, let's say something like really big, you're like, oh my God, where do we start? Mental health isn't that much different. Like, instead of looking at, oh my God, all this is going wrong at the same time, breaking it down piece by piece, I think is really, really helpful advice. And I think that also might feel like you're more in control. Because do you feel like one of the things you get told a lot is that people feel like they don't have any control over like what's going on?
I feel like the people have been, as you grow up, here's what I think you lose. I think that people lose the sight of they do have control of everything in their life.
Right.
And I also think that they lose the ability to be creative and be quizzical about life and things out there. And I think that really, really helps you get through things when things are hard, because when things are hard, you need that quizzical, creative side of your brain, and we all have it, to come up with new ideas to get you out of that hole. Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of your advice is also geared towards like pulling yourself out of the cycle of vicious swirling. Like when you said earlier, go into a Twitch stream, engage with people, get out of your sort of like, because a lot of us with anxiety or OCD or depression, you get into a spiral and it's really hard to trip. Like, have you ever seen like ants? They call it the circle of death, and like they're each following each other, and they're gonna die. And if any ant just stepped off the spiral of death, they would stop. But they're all just doing it, and that sometimes what I feel like anxiety can do. You just feel like you can't, so you need something to interrupt that pattern, so you can like sort of orient your psyche. So like, would you suggest like hobbies, things like that, are really helpful for?
Well, funny you mention it.
Yeah.
Because there is a researcher that the Poop Coven has funded, Dr. Martha Beck. And we have funded her because she has done really great neuroscience. And what she found recently really excites me. Did you know that, the two halves of your brain, right?
Of course,
the
left,
creative
right.
and the left, right? Yeah. Do you know that the place where anxiety sits in the brain, supposedly where it sits in the brain, is also the same place on the other side of the brain where creativity sits?
Interesting.
So, The cool thing about it, though, is it's like they are able to flip a switch and turn each other off. So if you're having high anxiety, your creative side shuts off.
I think that,
So-
can we see, does that make sense for you guys? Because it makes sense for me. When I have a lot of anxiety, I feel like I can't do anything. Like, I feel like I can't do any of my hobbies. I can't do anything. I'm like trapped. Does that make sense for you guys? Makes so much sense. That makes total sense. That explains a lot. See? Wow. That makes total sense.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Look
What
at
do
that.
What do you, wow.
No, I think that's awesome. I think that's
Oh my
really,
God.
no, yo, don't you understand that for people can feel really enlightening? Like, why
It is.
sometimes when you're anxious and you feel like you know you're anxious and you want to do something, but then you feel physically like you can't. I think that's,
Yeah.
Oh, Rainbow Beard's here. That makes so much
So-
sense. Okay.
Speaking of a guy who has a ton of creativity, but also has that anxiety, Rainbow Beard.
Yeah.
Right? And
Hi, Rainbow Beard.
so how you combat that is by taking a breath,
Right.
stepping back, and doing more, pushing yourself to do something creative, even if it's small. Draw a picture, whatever. It'll slowly turn off that anxiety side and allow you to get through it faster.
Interesting. And I think that at least for me, I feel like, you know, I have a lot of hobbies. Some people really struggle having any hobbies, and then they feel intimidated to start something. But maybe this is like a really good motivating thing. If you're somebody who gets into that anxiety brain and you need an outlet, what outlets, like what certain hobbies do you know of that could be really like, can pull you out of that spirally brain? Because like for me, it's obviously reading or embroidery, but do you have any that
And
you
for
suggest?
me, it's masturbation. And
God, he can't help himself. But
I
you
like,
know what? If it works, if it works.
I like making tiny sandwiches.
Oh my God, he's such a menace.
No,
Oh, we need to
but-
say thank you to Nair. Nair just stole Rainbow Beard at a tier 3 girth.
Yeah.
month,
Looking like a true butt soul.
Welcome
feeling
the
like a
old man's
little
club.
poop, and I'm
man,
still
don't call the
But there
suffering
is.
after all this
There is, and you know what? That's the
time,
other thing I
running
tell
amok
people.
with a
Hold on,
book
the song's
of
not
win on my side.
The other thing I
I'm
tell
I'm
people.
still sobbing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the tier 3 alert. It gets stuck in my head. Thank you, Nair. Say thank you to Naruble. Thick tier 3.
Thank you, Nair.
Thank you, Nair. We love you. Okay, what were you saying about the hobbies?
But that's the other thing about hobbies.
Right.
The thing that people lose as they age
Yeah.
is that bucket list mentality and that anything is possible.
Yeah.
One of the things that
Yeah.
one of the things that happened when I married Stephanie
I love
is
Stephanie.
she-
Shout out Stephanie.
is she told me, and we had a saying, and it's still to this day, that we never say no to anything.
Oh,
We'll
yeah.
try everything at least once.
I think that's awesome. Well, I think that's awesome. And I think that makes sense for you too.
That's how you break a bed.
Oh my God. I was waiting. That's why I wasn't going to say anything. I was like, I knew he was going to say something. Well, I mean, that's a good mentality to have because I also feel like when you limit yourself, you limit possibilities and you never know what tomorrow, you know, if you say yes to things and you lean into things and and we talked about this last stream, not letting fear dictate or stop you from trying new things. I think that does make a lot of sense. So not allowing fear to talk you out, because also anxiety is really just fear, you know. Elle said, I haven't had a day in my life that anxiety didn't dominate. I'm always working on making it go away, but it's always simmering. What do you say
Yeah,
about
and it always does.
Yeah.
And it's something that one has to think about. I have really bad anxiety. I have really bad depression at times. And when I was, somebody told me this about drugs and alcohol, and it actually is the same with anxiety and depression. I found I had a friend who told me while I was going through a bunch of shit. He was an alcoholic.
Oh.
And he said, and he's not anymore. 20, 30 years now he's been sober.
Awesome.
But he said to me, he said, Chris, it's like you're walking on the street and there is a hole in the pavement behind you at all times. And if you look back, you'll fall in.
Fallen. Yeah.
And at times, now it comes to the other side of it where if you do hobbies and you do something creative, the other thing you need is people that will engage with you and help you realize how great it is and how fun it is and how good you are.
Yeah.
Perfect example. I am a big fan of one of the Coven members here, my man Converse.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Converse.
I will read. He has sent me scripts he's
Me
written.
too. Yeah.
I will read his shit all the time. I think he's great.
Yes.
I think he's one of the best writers I've seen.
Yeah.
I love the guy.
Yeah.
And if you can get around people, again, a plug for the Poop Coven Discord, if you can get around people that will get excited for you, it will make it easier to do those hobbies, even if you think they're weird. Like, let's say you have a person who takes their contact lenses and
I
does
already
weird
knew.
stuff with them.
I knew it. You know what? You just want to know what I do with my contact lenses. I'm not telling you.
Oh no, I don't want to know what you do with your contact lenses because it's something dirty and fun.
It's not. Carly
Sexy
says
times.
no. Cooking, coloring, painting your nails, organize anything that brings you joy at all. I agree with all of that. Also, we got a lot of shout outs, Stephanie. Thank you, Rainbow Beer, for the lovely hair comment. T wrote, creativity often involves coordination between the cognitive control network, which is involved in executive functions such as planning and problem solving, and the default mode network, which is most active during mind wandering or daydreaming.
And that is true.
Yeah.
And it is something that people have to realize that you can spark the same kind of reaction by doing different things.
Right.
Right. And it will help you in the long run because it strengthens that cognitive ability to do decision making and do problem solving.
Right. And I think, like Chico said, this is why you should not wait for motivation to get creative. Work on discipline. How do you feel about when you're doing something new? You know, they say it takes 6 weeks for something to become the new norm for you. So when you have people who say, like, I don't know where to start, how do I even begin? How would you encourage those people to know that starting is the hardest part and then staying consistent can be hard, but once it's locked in, it's in? So would you give certain advice for that?
I would say that it sucks.
Yeah.
It does suck because you got to put in the hard work.
Yeah.
But even before that hard work happens, because I realize, and therapists and life coaches and scholars have said that it takes six times 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. But I find that even more than getting up and doing it is a person to sit down, and it's one of the quotes I love the most is, if you're thinking about getting fit, if you're thinking about doing a new hobby, if you're thinking about doing something for yourself
Right.
that makes you feel better, when is now?
Oh,
Because there's never a right time.
That's such a good point. I think that's, that actually really feels applicable to my life a lot, because I'll be like, oh, I'll start on Monday. I'll start it on whatever. You're right.
Yeah.
When is the right time? The right time is now. And I think that's really
When is
helpful
now?
advice. Yeah. What's wrong with now? Right. I think it's really good advice. And then
When is now? I have when is now written in my laptop bag. I have it
I love that.
inscribed.
It's a really good quote.
Because you will always find other things to do.
Yeah. Another question Sweet Music had, my anxiety and depression have been worse lately because my fears of the world and chaos, been trying to settle down. It's hard. So I obviously think that this is important, especially, right now with everything that's going on in like the political climate and everything that's just going on in general. What advice would you give to people who are looking at the news and seeing the world and getting stressed and feeling like they have no control and it's like everything's terrible? Like, what would be your advice for those people?
Move to Canada.
This is not. Do you know how hard it is to get citizenship right now?
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to have Braddy sign me up to be a pool boy so I can get at least a green card to get.
You don't want to be here. Oh my God, you do not want to be here. This is.
You know what? Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Again, something my wife has told me many times because I went through a lot of shit. If you think about things, listen, think about Trump. Nothing happened to you today personally.
I think, it's an interesting argument because there's the macro and micro. And I tell my mom this because my parents are the people who leave CNN on the background. And then they're so shocked that they're always in fight or flight because they're listening in the background all day to the world is burning, to the world is burning. And there's a macro scale of like, yeah, shit's on fire and things are bad. And then I tell them, but like lock in today. What did you do today? My dad went to the library. We went for a walk with him. My mom got her nails done. Like, I'm like, just lock in, you can be, my advice is you can be aware of things and you can like keep tabs on things, but inundating yourself does nothing. And realizing what today felt like for you from a day-to-day scale, like you were talking about taking it in pieces. I think that's how I break through it. Brady says we're going to have to start getting a bonus hotel room tour since Chris is always filming. You're always on tour. Where are you right now?
Chicago.
Oh my God. What are you doing in Chicago?
Just went out for snacks.
How dare she? What is she getting?
So here.
Oh, hotel tour. Ooh. Oh, damn. Oh, big bed, Chris. Oh, you frisky.
Yeah, but you see on the bed there, you see this, they don't have any, it's all like all the water bottles are paper and
Oh my God. Stream Music said, has anyone felt when they felt needed, it makes their mental health a bit better? For me, it's helped me get past the dark side. That's a really good question. Like when other people are having a hard time and you're able to help them, it sort of alleviates your hard time. And I feel like that makes a lot of sense in like it takes you out of your own frame of mind. Do you agree with that?
There is a poster that I'm making that is going up on ericalegacy.com soon. And it tells about a man who falls into a well and can't get out of the well. And a man falls into a well, he can't get out. And many people know the story, I'm sure. And another person comes in, the well is really long and deep, and he gets into the well with the guy, and the guy's like, holy shit, why did you get in? We can't get out now. He's like, no, I've been here before. I can show you the way out.
Oh, that's so nice.
And I think that it happens in our Discord a lot.
Yeah.
I think that it happens in our chat a lot when we're not talking about anuses.
Or maybe when we're especially talking about anuses.
I have not had a ton of stuff happen to me in life, but I haven't.
Right.
But if you're going through one thing and maybe I have went through the same thing,
right,
I can help you out with some advice.
Right, and you'll feel less alone too, just in general.
And you'll feel less alone.
Right. Motivation is a myth.
Sometimes you just need people to sit with you.
Yeah, sometimes, and I think sometimes I'll say like, I don't, like when I'm having a hard time and Aiden's trying to like be there for me, I'm like, I don't need you to also feel emotionally like you're in hell, because I feel like I'm in hell. I just want you to hold my hand while I'm in there so I know I'm not like alone in my feelings. And that's what I think is really important about a partner and really important about like checking in, because sometimes like I don't want, if I, as a partner, I don't want my mishigas, whatever, to bring him down, or vice versa. But we have to, as partners, always feel like, you're there for the other person. I think that's what they were saying. It's just being there, being present, just knowing you're not alone can help you feel like you can get out of the situation too. And also, Addie says, just start. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's another good, a lot of people have a failure to start because they're scared of not having it be perfect.
And that's the thing. And it doesn't have to be correct in the first day.
Right.
Everybody, and I'm the worst for it, as are you. Yeah. Because
we want
Coven Camp has to be perfect or we're not running it.
Well, I want it to be, great.
The first year of Coven Camp.
I know. Oh my God, when I look back, I'm like, this was so much more scuffed than it is now. Oh my God. But look at how amazing if I needed it to be as perfect as it is now, I would never have started. You have to start. You absolutely have to start. Yeah.
And you know what? Here's a little tip for everybody. I know the world seems like it's on fire, and it probably is. It probably is at times. I'm sure it is. I don't know, whatever.
To an extent.
But you know what I've done? I have started to not watch things that make me sad, including Stephanie likes this crab fisherman show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Deadly Catch. All these guys are dying.
Deadliest Catch. It's really dangerous.
Deadliest Catch. Guy dies or they go to the hospital. I can't watch it anymore because I just don't want to feel sad.
I get it. I think avoiding things that make you feel, especially right now, because when you're already feeling the energy around you, it's like when you want to decompress, that's like the last thing you want to sort of feel and stuff. That makes sense. Jaded Fairy says, I struggle to engage in any of my hobbies anymore because I lost the joy I used to do while feeling them. Well, that's a really good point. Some people will start a hobby and it used to bring them joy and it doesn't anymore. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like they should try again, or should they try something else?
So here's a question. Do you not feel joy because you didn't have anybody that was your champion for that hobby, or that took interest in that hobby, and you were just fucking painting miniatures in your basement because you just thought it was cool, but you never showed anybody? Or is it because you just got bored of it and moved on?
That's a really good question.
People will say, well, it's because I didn't really show anybody that I was a great... Perfect example, our sweet little Drifter Dreams, who is an artist extraordinaire.
She's wonderful, yeah.
And she doesn't show any fucking buddy.
I know. I know. Well,
Like,
she's also she is like unbelievably like humble, doesn't want any attention. She's just, but that's
Bullshit.
also, it's bullshit. But she's also, we forget, I know to us she's still like our baby, but she's young, I do feel like coming into your own happens though, as you you give less fucks as you get older. But yeah.
Here's a hot tip.
Yeah.
Here's a hot tip for everybody in the chat. Mm-hmm. If you don't become your own champion, nobody will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Start with becoming your own champion, and then all of a sudden you're selling a bunch of Chreesmak shirts.
Yeah, and also I always say that the longest relationship you'll ever be in with anyone is yourself. So you have to make sure.
And Aiden.
Well, and Aiden, and so you have to make sure that relationship, you're your own champion. And then T wrote, when I'm trying to pick up a new habit or become more disciplined, I go by the rule: you can miss one day, but never two.
Yep.
Creating mantras for yourself that you feel like you can write, like we said, when is now, writing things on the wall, keeping yourself holding yourself accountable to an extent, I think is really, really good. Carly said, I'm so good about doing things I have been putting off to avoid the thing I really should be doing. That's an ADHD thing. That's a big thing. Like, you have something really big that's looming that you have to take care of. So instead you clean, or you've organized something, you put off the big scary thing, which probably will take you 15 minutes, but you put it off, and you try to do all the little things to distract yourself because you're scared of the big thing. That is a very
That's
common.
why I still have to do my taxes.
What? You do? You don't have somebody do that for you?
No, I do, but I still haven't given him anything.
Oh my God. Or he or she didn't message you?
They do. But I just am like, he's been my accountant for years. I'm just like, yeah, I'll do it.
Aiden does my accounting, thank God. Otherwise, I'd be absolutely fucked. Are you kidding? How Soon Is Now by The Smiths is an amazing song. Hold on. Canadia is Imagically Better. I mean,
But that's the other thing.
Yeah.
In my office at home,
Yeah.
I have pictures that are signed.
Mm-hmm.
I have stuff anything in my office is stuff that inspires me from when I was little, to heroes I had, to people now that inspire me. Fill your space with people that inspire you, things that inspire you, books that inspire you,
Yes.
writing that inspires you,
Yes.
smut that inspires you.
Trinkets that inspire you. Yes. The grass not always greener, just breathe. It doesn't serve anyone to feel enraged. Channel that energy into something else. Channeling energy, I think, is a big thing that you talk about, Chris. Like redirecting, if you're having anxiety, maybe redirecting that frantic energy you might feel, and maybe you go for a run, maybe you dance, maybe you do like something that makes your body get out that extra energy. Channeling that energy, I think, is really, really, really good advice too.
And what I tell people is draw a wheel. I've said this a bunch of times, so I'll do one here. So draw a wheel, a circle. Well, don't start with a circle. Draw spokes.
Okay.
And name every spoke in your life on what you're either trying to work on or what you're really good at, and name every spoke. And if you're really good at something, make it a long spoke.
Ooh.
And if you're really bad at something, make it a short spoke. If it's something you want to work on, make it a short spoke. So your wheel's going to kind of look like this, right? It's going to be all out of round and weird shaped. And the idea is you look and you have named every spoke. You've given them a name, and you work on your short spokes slowly, get help from others to work on those short spokes to put your wheel in full round.
Yeah.
And keep on reflecting back to it.
I think that's also a powerful tool, because as you work on things, you can actually see your wheel become
You
more...
can actually see it, and
Yeah.
you name them.
Yeah.
Just saying that I'm not creative, or just saying that I have anxiety because of money. No, you actually name it. I have anxiety because I'm not good with money and not good with saving money.
Right. That's
Okay,
a
I've
really,
named it.
You've named it. And also we've talked about this a lot in here, like naming things, saying them out loud, give them some oomph, because when you have anxiety and you're just constantly in your head and you're thinking and you're overthinking, putting it down on paper to see it visually can take you out of that vicious cycle of self-doubt or overthinking. And I think it seems like a lot of advice you have is visualizing what the storm is in your mind, which I think is really powerful.
And logging it, writing it down, data. Get a bunch of data about it.
Right.
Mr. Troyer had a really good question. How do you rationalize the guilt of escape? I don't have fucking guilt for escapism. I love it.
Yeah, I think actually
Don't have guilt.
I was just gonna say, I think guilt is okay. This is something I've worked through with therapy because as a recovering people pleaser, people pleasing is always stemming from a place of guilt. You feel guilty for not.
Yeah, you're very rude to me. Don't please me, do you?
No, but seriously, guilt is something that like a lot of people pleasers or recovering people pleasers are like constantly trying to fight against, and it's it could be a very hard wave to crest. But what's interesting is escapism, you are self-imposing that guilt. No one's telling you you need to sit here and be miserable and anxious because like we said earlier, the world is burning. But you know what? You have one life to live and you need to do the things that keep you feeling happy and safe and as okay as you can be. You can still care. You could still lock in and check in on things, but making sure you're okay should not make you feel guilty. And that's something I've worked on.
Unless you're a Buddhist, then you got a lot of lives. Just fucking feel the guilt. Whatever. So,
go back. Oh wait, Stephanie wrote, I like to remind myself that mastery isn't always the point of doing things. If you enjoy doing something, you don't have to be progressing or even good at it. I think that's amazing advice from Stephanie. That's amazing. Yes.
My thing about the escapism, here's the thing. Do the escapism, live in the escapism, but use escapism, realize you're doing it, but use it to spark your creative mind to figure out ways to do the thing you want to do and make it more fun.
I think that's really good. And I just feel like, there's just only so much people can do, and you can do things and you can try. And then once your well is empty, then it's okay to be like, I need to do things that will make me feel safe and okay and filling my cup back up, because you can't pour from an empty cup, which I think is really, really important. And that, and I think for why we also are all flocking to escapism right now is also very much so because our cups are empty. So we're constantly trying to refill those cups kind of thing. Bring back the innocent 70s, 80s sitcoms. No, I think that's really, really interesting. Hi, Alley-oop. How are you doing? So many quotes. We need Chreesmak quotes. I mean, Chreesmak also was our don't be an asshole to yourself, which is on our... Yeah, I think that was also just very, very, very good advice. So also, just in general, if you feel... This is another thing that people have been DMing me about. You constantly feel like you're in fight or flight.
I love this.
Yeah, I had a feeling you'd know, because that was the other thing I wanted to make sure you gave advice about, because that was something I've been hearing a lot.
I love this, because this is a perfect segue to what I want to do. So, if you're feeling fight or flight, I would say start to make note of when you feel that way.
Right.
And then, where were you during that time? What was happening during that time? And then really looking at what made you kick into that fight or flight mode. Now, one of the best things you can do for flight or fight mode is meditation and breathing. Legit. It is neurologically known, psychologically known that taking a step back and build a space. It can be a tiny space in your house, apartment, wherever it is. It could be a chair,
like a specific.
It could be a chair.
Yeah, it could be like literally just that chair.
And just taking that moment to breathe and learning proper breathing techniques, because you will find that it clears your mind. And I was never into this before because I thought it was a bunch of bullshit. Just straight up, I just think it's a bunch of bullshit. But it actually works. And it allows you to take a moment to stop and calm your breath, calm your nervous system, and get out of fight or flight mode.
Right.
And it'll allow you to rethink and reframe what is happening to you in that moment.
Right.
And most people will find, again, nothing's happening to you today or right now.
Right.
Sometimes it is, sometimes, but it's very rare.
Right.
Nothing happened to you today. It's just kicking in and you can't stop it.
Right.
Take that time to do a little bit of breathing exercises. And guess what we're going to do today?
What?
At the end of this, once we kick out of this, whatever this thing is, podcast, we are going to give away a breathing Buddha buddy.
Oh my God, Chris, that's so sweet of you.
So the breathing Buddha buddy, for anybody who doesn't know, is a 6-inch squishy Buddha, and he changes colors. And as he changes colors, he does box breathing, or he does meditative breathing. I have a picture in your Discord. At the end of this, we're going to show it on stream.
Oh,
We're going to give it away.
awesome. Oh,
Did you hear
that's
that?
so sweet. Yes, that's amazing. Oh my God. Okay, hold on. Let's just keep up with Jack, because they're saying a lot of great stuff. Chico said, asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but rather a demonstration of strength. And nobody, I think, says that better than Chris, because how many calls do you get at the Erica Legacy Foundation, like, on average?
Okay, here's a fun fact. Because you guys have funded it, and many streams have funded it. In 2025 so far, January, February, March, and April, we have had 2,700 calls or contacts, email, only from Twitch community members.
Oh my God. That's
2,700.
Jesus. That's a lot, which is amazing. That is amazing. There's so many people are contacting you when they're in need.
And last year we had over 7,000 at the end of the year.
Oh my God, jeez.
And we're probably going to double it this year. And all of them do fine, and all of them are great because we're able to get them resources and help. But it takes a mix of community, resources, connection, and learning to really tackle a lot of the things that are mental health created. Now, where's Chico? What did Chico say?
I'm trying to catch up too. They are on fire night.
No, what did he say before? What did you just say he said?
Are you talking about Shy? Chico said asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but rather a demonstration of strength. Yeah.
Now, people say that all the time. It's not a... It shouldn't be anything at all. It should be us being friends and helping each other out.
Right.
There's no signs of weakness. There's no signs of strength. It should just be
neutral. Baseline. It should just be baseline, but it's baseline. Not. But society has made it feel like, especially, and I'll say for men in particular, when you're having emotional turmoil of some kind, it does feel like, you're not supposed to ask for help. It's a sign of weakness to show emotion. So I think that the more you and podcasts like this say, it just should be neutral. I think that's actually really important, that it should just be the norm to ask for help. It shouldn't be this, either way. You're absolutely right.
You know what I love about men?
What?
They are dumb, and they're the worst ever because they go through a phase.
I did not think you were going to say that.
They go through a phase of just being like masculine, right?
Right.
But if you think about it, the men typically, not all the time, but typically, the men that people love the most, you love the most, is your grandpa.
I do.
And my grandpa, your grandpa, our grandpa, anybody's grandpa, never was a masculine guy. He's like this kissy grandpa that loves his grandkids.
Yeah, you're right.
He's like soft all the fucking time.
And like very doting and like very,
And very doting, and he loves his wife.
Yes,
and
my grandpa, who was married to my ladybug grandma, was obsessed with her. It was unbelievable.
Like, why are we those guys? Like, look at Aiden.
Well,
like he's
Aiden's
like
very
me,
broody,
right?
Though he's very broody.
Yeah, but again, like, he's a suck.
Yeah.
Dude is such a suck. And like, that's like I am with Stephanie. I admit it, but like, that's usually what we all love at the end of life is our grandpas.
It should be. I think that's really, really a very good point. I think hypermasculinity now is also at a rampant high because of people on the internet and our president and whatever, but I do think that's a really good way to put it. Like, the men in our lives who stand out are the ones who are open emotionally and vulnerable, and I think that's really beautiful. And then City said but procrastination is a cycle that lifts a fire under me sometimes, but it's not a good cycle. Procrastination, how do you have any weigh in on procrastination? Because
I'm the same way. I'm the same way.
I've gotten so much better about it, but
I used to procrastinate 2-3 times a day. And
not to poop, though. We got to make sure, because you poop 6 times a day. So we go.
Procrastination. I thought you said master.
Oh,
okay.
my God. Did you just think of that? You are diabolical. Oh, my God.
So procrastination, you know what? I think that the way to get around procrastination is either, it's bad to say, either be really, really good at what you do.
Yeah.
So my ex-girlfriend from years and years back, who's still one of my best friends right now, he could write a university paper and edit it all at once.
Yeah.
So she would get like straight A's, but she could bang out a paper in 2 hours. So she could procrastinate right till the end because she could edit and write at the same time.
Yeah.
And just keep on. And if you're that good, then procrastinate all you want. If you're not that good, then you have to sometimes just eat the shit.
Well, the only thing also about it, you could still be good, but procrastinating will make you anxious because you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting, and then when your feet are on the flames, then you have to do it. You'll still do a great job, but you didn't have to have the rolling anxiety for days or weeks or even months if you just did it in a more timely manner. So I mean, Braddy really is the reason why I can't even take, therapy. Like, not leaning on procrastinating. I mean, I have proof, but you won't even believe that I have May, June, and like the beginning of July already monthly calendared. Like, I don't want to sit around anymore. I don't want to like not know. There's things that I leave like loose because it's dependent on other people. So I can't, like Coven Camp is a great example. I can't lock in certain things because that's dependent on the team, like the artists and when they're done. But like, not procrastinating has become, it alleviated so much stress out of my life.
Build yourself a calendar. I live by my calendar,
man.
Straight
The
up.
monthly calendar is like it. I try now to have months blocked out at a time, because even if it's not, by the time we get to that month, I have to change something. I'd rather sort of have a general idea of what we might be changing instead of, Addie says, I do something like that, but I picture things I'm good at and want to work on as different plants, and some I need to water and others. That's like another kind of visualization. I think that's good. Allow yourself to escape a little. You can't be in it all the time. Absolutely. Anxiety is so mean. I will isolate you if you don't do anything about it. Well, that's what you say a lot, Chris. Don't allow it to isolate you.
Here's the thing. Go to Coven. Go to the Coven. Not Comfort Camp. Go to the Discord.
Discord, yeah.
We have place to vent, place to be happy.
Yes.
And I'm gonna start to put in worksheets this year. Coming up because now I have a bunch of worksheets, so we can all work on stuff together. It's gonna be great. You can make a little binder, and we'll all work on shit together.
That's so cute. That'd be fun. Tony wrote, guilt as a people pleaser is so hard to work through. Do you have any advice? Because I know that it's something I've worked on tremendously. And the feeling of guilt can feel suffocating. And you feel trapped and locked. And you're just like, I'd rather just do the thing I don't want to do because it just creates less friction. But do you have any advice for people who feel guilt about things?
I say pick your spots.
Yeah.
Pick your spots. When just right now downstairs, me and Stephanie went and had dinner, and she had a shrimp quesadilla, and it came back as a chicken quesadilla, and we could give a shit because that's not a fucking sword I'm gonna die on.
Right.
I'm not. So
pick your fights, basically.
Pick your fights, but also care about yourself.
Right.
No, you know what? Our good friend Cartoon Therapy always says it. It's one of the greatest things he's ever said. Don't say yes when you mean no.
Yeah, definitely.
And that is a hard pill to swallow.
It is, for people pleasers, it's hard.
So long to build it up.
You know what? I'll also say, building off of that, notice every time you want to say no and you're about to give in. Because even just noticing how often you're doing that, you're going to go, oh my God. Like, I mean, in one conversation with people who are the ones who sort of push on that boundary, like my mom, who I love dearly, but she's probably the one at this point who will do it. I'll catch myself about to say yes to something I don't want to do in maybe one conversation like 8 times. But now I have the tools to be able to say no without it becoming confrontational. And that
Stephanie
takes
has
a lot of
beat the
practice.
shit out of me.
Yeah.
She's going to make a list in our house because I know a lot of circus people. And
you do.
like, she has told me if I say yes to helping out just with marketing, because I got a good marketing mind. She's like, if you help legit, this is what's if you help out one more stupid magician who you give the golden egg advice to and they don't take it, and you do it for free, we're gonna divorce. So I can't work for any magicians anymore.
I love that. That's her. Like, this is my line. No more free magician shit. Derry said this is the hardest thing to be. I'm a huge asshole to myself. What do you say, Chris, to that? Don't be an asshole to yourself. Don't be an asshole to yourself.
Like, why? Why be an asshole to yourself? Like, I get it. Darius, me and Darius, I know Darius. Darius, if you want to be I'll be an asshole to you.
No!
Don't do it to yourself. I'll tell you.
No.
I will. I'm gonna
Chris,
ask Haley.
I was just going to say,
Haley.
it's true. It's true. Chris is, I think for some people, like me, my therapist, very blunt, she tells it exactly how it is. And so I don't feel like I leave with people who are recovering people pleasers, people who overthink. You don't want to have to think at the end of a conversation, did they mean what they said? What did they mean by that? Oh, did I say something wrong? So having people like Chris who are blunt, who will tell it like it is and really like read you for filth, but also will give you great advice, but won't sugarcoat it. For people who are overthinkers, overanalyzers, worrywarts, whatever, it's sometimes the best advice you'll ever get. So Chris is very blunt and he will tell you if you're being an asshole to yourself. So for some people that would be like very triggering, and for other people it's like exactly what you need to hear to like slap you out of the moment kind of thing.
Because here's the tip. Most people are an assholes to themselves because they don't believe in how good they actually are.
Right.
Which is you.
No, shut up. I don't want to talk about me. Carly said taking
But it's true, right?
Oh my God.
A lot of your stuff is you don't believe how great you are, so you treat yourself like an asshole because you're like, I'm not that good. I should be doing this. I'm not a good. Yeah, you are. Fuck, of course you are.
Carly said
You just don't need. You need to find your purpose.
Carly says, take a second to do some stretching. How do you feel about physical movement being incorporated into, sort of like, do you recommend, like, and also there's people who, maybe are unable to do certain moves. So like when I give advice, like go for a walk, right? What would be something that you could suggest instead of like maybe something physical or going for a walk, but could be something that people could still do that will physically shake it out of them a little bit?
Well, okay. You can be physically active. Mm-hmm. There used to be on PBS, public television, there used to be, a sit and be fit. People, you can always make little movements. Right. You can always do a little bit of yoga, a little bit of stretching. Right.
Listen to
who
music too. Just like roll your neck and listen to music.
That's
Zone
the thing.
Out. Yeah. You could always do things like that.
You know who is actually really good at the whole movement thing?
My man.
And bringing in movement.
Chris, I literally look over and I'm like, how did he do that at the same time? You're such a son of a bitch. My God. Can we do monthly group breathing sessions? I mean, I suck at meditating.
I'll tell you what we can do.
What can we do?
In Discord.
Yeah.
I will set it up and Nair will set it up because
Nair does everything. Knows how to do everything. Yeah.
And we will have I'll start a group session where we can work on creating the beginnings of a life that you want to live.
Ooh, I love that. Ooh, like how to set steps to make plans to
and
how
then we
you
can
want
all
to
do
progress.
check-ins.
Oh, that's
awesome.
Oh my
God.
God.
It'll be great.
That's amazing. I think that
You're
would
not
be really
invited.
good. I actually, I don't know why I just knew you were going to say that. Say that. Alley-oop said, so I've been... Sorry. Yes, please put the sex turtle on Chris. Oh my God, we're so far behind. Thank you, sorry. So I've been really struggling with skill regression now that I know I have autism. I'm learning myself. I hate that once I take the mask off, I can't put it back on. I get frustrated because it was so easy before when I didn't know about myself. That's a really interesting thing. And we've talked about that because sometimes having an actual diagnosis term can feel like it will put you in a box, and for other people it feels like it's taking you out of a box. So what would you do you have any advice for Alley-oop in that situation of feeling like you have this diagnosis now, but now you almost feel like you can't get out of the process of knowing you have the diagnosis.
Yeah. Learn your diagnosis.
Yeah.
And then surround your people with that diagnosis that excel. Hot tip, when you're talking about autism, if you want to know somebody in the poop coven who has autism and is fucking killing it in the last year especially, is my good friend and your good friend, the Aesthetics.
Yes. I knew you were going to say that. I love her so much. It's so good.
Like, Heather is killing it.
That's amazing. I know she's a great example.
And she speaks
we have Dr. Phil
openly about
talking
it.
resilient one.
There was a great therapist on the Drew Barrymore show
don't hide
about
it
this
in the shadows.
specifically.
I just met a researcher.
What was said
Megan,
that makes a
who
better
is
frame of
very
mind
big proponent of autism because she found
to think
out
about
later,
ourselves
she's
is
autistic.
Wait,
to
Chris, there's a sticker
think
talking.
of ourselves as a human.
Who's talking?
We
Dr.
have to
Phil.
take care of and separate the inner battle
Really?
to thinking about how can I take care of this human in the best way. We are very stuck on inner monologue and found this a great tool to reframe the mind.
Well, that's rude.
And how you look at your life. Hugs all.
I think that was actually really good advice. I think that was the best advice from Dr. Phil that even human Dr. Phil has ever given. That was actually really good advice. You were saying also Erica Legacy is global. It's based out of Canada, but helps globally. Absolutely. What were you saying?
In fact, we just recently helped a Twitch member who was in the mighty world of Sweden and got them a therapist in a very remote area of Sweden when they couldn't find one themselves.
That's actually amazing. That's very cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
I did not really know. Okay, we were talking about the grandfather. I thought that was actually a really good point. A lot of poops in here didn't know their grandpa or their grandpas weren't like that. But it's interesting that I feel like if you do have that dynamic in your family and you see a man who's like really like obsessed with his like significant other and he's very vulnerable and sweet, you could see that ripple down the generations. I think that was a really good point.
It is always like that. Even if you've never met your grandparents, you hear stories about how great they were.
Yeah.
Or one of the things I've always said, even before I was in Erica Legacy, you know what you never see? You never see a grandma call her grandkid a fucking asshole. Because somewhere out there, somebody believes in you.
Yeah, it's true. It's just being resourceful with your time. Okay, that's another really good thing. What about when people feel like they don't have enough time to do the thing, to do the hobbies, to go on Twitch, to do anything? They just go to work, they make dinner for their family, and then they go to sleep. Like, how do you make time for yourself?
You get books on time management, and you start to use a calendar properly.
Right.
And you start to block out your days, including time for yourself.
Right.
Because it's fast, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're in the executive level of business, right? Because they're really fast.
Right.
It took me till I was probably 35 to really start using my time wisely and really understanding what it meant. Before that, I was in the hospital for stress.
I remember you told me. Yeah, it's terrible.
You know, and it just went crazy.
Yeah.
And the idea of getting a calendar, either Google Calendar or Outlook Calendar, and really starting to use it a lot really helped me. It
even
really
blocking out like
focuses
30 minutes can be very helpful. Yeah, like even just if you just start, like you said earlier, little increments will build up too. If you start out with, we have 24 hours a day. If you can just save 30 minutes for yourself, then that 30 will accumulate. You do 30 minutes every day. I don't know what math is because Nair does the math for me, but that will accumulate. Chico wrote, labels diagnosis are now hurting us. We have turned them into an identity, which is meant to be when it was meant to be informational. You are not your diagnosis. How do you feel about that?
I fully agree.
Really?
I will say I am in mental health.
Right.
I am sick and tired of hearing about neurodiversity.
Interesting. Okay. Why?
Because everybody is neurodiverse. Now, with that, the key is to take a diagnosis. First off, get one.
Right.
Don't say you are because you think you are. Get one if you truly are ADHD or autistic, or get a proper diagnosis and then become a champion for that. become a champion for your community. And that is the way, number one, it opens up the doors to more quality conversations about the diagnosis or whatever it is.
Right.
It also connects people more to understanding how to deal with various mental health issues or various mental health diagnoses. For instance, one of the things that I have a really great friend who's written many books on, if you were a manager or a boss, how to manage in a business, how to manage an introvert so that you get the best production out of them.
That's really smart, actually.
Because an introvert isn't going to be the person bringing cakes to the office.
Yeah, they're not.
Or
what are they called?
in your meeting, they're
Personality
not gonna be
hires and stuff.
putting
Yeah.
their hand up.
Yeah, that's really smart, actually. And that's a good tactic because we hear all the time about personality hires who are these extroverts who are literally hired because they do that. But introverts can get just as much work done, maybe even more. But they need a different kind of support system than an extrovert would. So I think that's really, really, really good advice. Audible said, it feels so good to say no, y'all are going to love it.
Yeah, truly.
Elle said, people beg though. What if they ask again and again and tell you they're in distress if you don't help, and then it's the last time and all that jizz? I say no, but I can be worn down and manipulated. I mean, I think that just takes persistently saying no and persistently holding your ground, and they can feel worn down and you can feel like you're being manipulated. But I also feel like knowing you're being worn down and knowing you're manipulated, you dig down deeper and you just hold the line, right?
I also think that for many people that ask you for help,
You're right.
you have to look at the person. It happens with Erica Legacy, where if you come to me and you say you are depressed, and in my mind, as I'm talking to you, I already know the resource I give you, the contacts I'll give you, and the help that I would give you. I then, in my head, say, I've given you those things. There's not anything else I can do. Now
Yeah.
it's on you.
Yeah.
So if you come back to me 1,000 times, listen, man, I gave you
What I can give you.
what I can give you.
Right.
Like, I have nothing else. This is
Right.
exactly what I thought. Now, listen, you don't want to take my advice? Well, that's cool. But then if you come back, I mean, you can come back to me.
Right.
But I gave you what I thought was good. And if you didn't use it, you didn't use it. If it didn't work, that's all I got.
Right, and that's all you got. And then also, it's okay to say, let's try something else. Like, it's not going to be a one shoe fits all. It's not going to be that one advice is applicable to everybody. But I think, again, like, I think a big thing sometimes is that with therapy in general, you can have a therapist who gives you advice and it doesn't resonate with you. And then you're like, this is not going to work. Well, maybe we just try a different tactic, or maybe that therapist isn't conducive for what you need. But like, I think a lot of people think that therapy and how to approach topics, how to figure out how your brain works is like a one shoe fits all. And this goes back to your neurodivergent. You said everybody is essentially neurodivergent because everybody's brain is different and functions different, and the connectivity within the brain is different. So it's an interesting thing that can also be applied to therapy. It's not a one, what you can give might be all that you can give, and maybe that doesn't work for somebody, and then they should try somebody else, or they should, be okay with pivoting and doing something new. And I think that's really, really good advice and really important. Converse is here, by the way. Converse, we were talking about you earlier, Converse.
I also love Nair talking about software engineers being introverts. Yeah, you don't say, Nair. Pirate Software might be an introverted kind of guy. You don't say.
Well,
Have you ever seen his stream? Yeah.
Well, you know what's interesting too, though? Like, you'll get into these businesses that like, I would not, obviously, I could never. I just like blew a gasket at the idea of doing software development. But I think personality-wise, if I walked into a room of engineers, they'd be like, the fuck? Get out of here. So it's not to say, I think there's a lot of like heaviness on like extroverts are so much more coveted. Not in every space.
Like, could you imagine if a person like me or both of us in like 10 years ago
world.
when Nair was building the internet and he was building the Matrix, could you imagine if we were in the Matrix with Nair? He'd be like, oh my god,
abort.
He like every one of those little green things
Oh my God, he would literally type in a code, be like, "Please delete. This is not gonna work."
Like there's
out.
Nair with the green ASCII code, and we're just licking it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he'd hate us. He hates us now, but he hates us even more.
He would be like, we have to turn back the internet. We have to turn back. Oh my God, so true. But that's true. Like
I still think that Nair just likes you for charity because, like,
no, don't. Not just for charity. They're
like,
my
yeah,
Twitch mom and
because
dad.
you're like
Shut
his
up.
special. You're his.
I'm
you're
his
his
special
like,
little friend. Shut up. Don't slander my relationship with Nair. I'll kill you.
like, because me and you are just like tornadoes
well,
of shit.
you
Like,
and I are like twin flames. We're both like a mess and a
oh
dread.
my God.
I mean, like,
There's so many times where we've been with Nair, and I just look over and he's looking at us like,
No,
why?
it's Brady. When I look over and Brady's looking at us,
Brady,
he's like,
Brady, I can't even because she's just like, go to your room.
God, yeah, go to your room. She's like, you two sit at the under end of the table. Addie said, I've stopped saying anything when I don't want to say yes. And if they ask again, that's why I say, I know you need help, but I need to say no this time around, but maybe next time. How do you feel about that? I feel like sometimes the no is a full sentence, though.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes.
What did she say?
I feel like Addie said, I know you need help, but I need to say no this time around, but maybe next time. But that leaves the door open to be pushed again. I sometimes think that the best answer is just say no. Like, for instance, I just had to say no to something, and like I didn't even give an excuse or a reason. I just said no.
Yeah.
And I was like,
That's-
no, I'm unable to, but thank you so much. I'm really grateful.
Legit,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
You know who really burned that in my head?
Who?
Brady.
Yeah, me too.
Because last year, me and Stephanie had a wedding that was like, it's like a person that's.
I did it for a bridal shower. That's what I just said no to.
And Brady was just, I remember Brady in chat being like,
Just say
I don't
no.
fucking go to weddings. I
Yeah.
just say no.
Right. And the no is a full sentence. And you don't have to
And
give
that's
a
it.
reason or excuse. I just wrote, no, I'm unable to attend, but thank you so much for the invitation. I sent a beautiful gift on their registry. Bada bing, bada boom. No, like, no, you don't need to make it a reason.
Like, so I sent Brady a text, I think, or a message on Discord or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe talked to her, and I was like, okay, what did you say after no? She's like,
Nothing.
Are you fucking stupid?
Yeah,
I said
nothing.
no.
Yeah, it's
That's
just
it.
no.
That's
it.
no.
It's the answer's no. And I think for people pleasers, that's why when I say that, like, no is a full sentence, it really is. Like, no one, you're not necessarily indebted to anybody, especially people you don't even know, to give an answer.
Can we all agree, by the way, just because I'm seeing my wife in chat?
Yes,
like,
Stephanie.
honey, you can come back into the hotel room. We're here.
We love you, Stephanie. And Stephanie, I'm not
She's
yelling tonight.
upstairs in the lobby or something.
I know. She doesn't want to hear me scream, I don't think. Aaron
No, I
Party.
had a headset in.
Area Party said, yeah, Chris, Brady, some of the best people. Chris has already called me out many times. I think that that's something that Chris is does with a loving. I think that's also really important for the way he helps people who are in a crisis too. I think that's really important because when someone's in a crisis, they kind of do need like that proverbial bitch slap to like slap them out of the spiral, because the spiral is the thing that you're interrupting. You're pattern interrupting when you do that, Chris, which I think is like really, really important. Carly wrote, I have a coworker like that. I can share when I'm beating myself up or worried other people are judging me. She helps me understand where I'm just in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things I have said to my sister.
Right.
It's the same thing. So we take my sister on trips once in a while, right? And my sister's like, oh my God. She's like, you don't have to. I'm like, okay. So if we don't take you, my sister Sonia, I love Sonia. I'm like, okay, so you don't want this trip? And she's like, no, I want the trip. But like, I'm like, okay, then if you don't want to come, then who would you suggest we bring instead? And it goes back to this, everybody in chat. Like, why are you so hard on yourself?
Yeah.
If it's like, what's the point?
Right. It makes sense. We have
Take
a
me
raid.
down to the butthole city where the
Mara, thank you
suburbs
for
flow
the
and the biddies are plenty.
raid.
Oh, won't you please take me down? Oh, take me down to the butthole city. Take me down to
And I'll
the
tell you
butthole
what.
city. Take me down to that butthole
You're gonna take me down that
city.
bad. Thank you so much, Mara, for the raid. Welcome into the Mental Health Podcast. We've gone way past 34 and a half minutes, but I think this is you could tell how important this is for the Poop Coven. Mara, you are coming into a very amazing podcast with Chreesmak. Normally, it's just us being degenerates for 34 and a half minutes. But right now, I think a lot of poops out there need to hear some advice on what to deal when things are heavy, when you feel fight or flight, when you feel anxious, when you feel isolated, when you feel procrastinating. So we're kind of talking through all that. Welcome in, everybody. I have 3 chats open and I'm somehow still behind on all of that. Mara, welcome on in. Hi, old man. How you doing? What were you gonna say, Chrees? While I try to find where we were in both three chats. Oh, Carly.
Yeah,
oh, wait. I just had the realization. I realized last summer my husband is his grandpa, which frightens me a little, but also the sweetest thing. Okay, that's interesting. What were you gonna say, Chrees?
No, I just like, people are so hard on themselves, and there's
Right.
no point.
Right. And I think we're hard on ourselves. Do you think that harkens back to upbringing? Do you think it's like more of just the way society kind of expects us to behave? Do you think there's a root cause?
And I think that as you grow up, you become more embarrassed. And I think that
I thought you'd give less shits, almost.
there's a point where it flips, because now I personally, my feeling is in your 40s, you give less shits, but from 18 to 30, 40, you still give a lot of shits, and you become embarrassed, and you become caring about what people think of you, and like you care about people and what they'll say about your hobby or your love or your passion or whatever it is. And the great part I found about Twitch, and the great part I found about the Coven especially, is, again, on our Discord, we have a hobby section, we have art section, and people are celebrated for everything, right?
Yeah,
it goes back to guys like Converse.
Yeah.
When I first was in the Coven fucking 4 years ago, he was very shy about showing his shit.
Yeah.
And now he tells everybody, and it's great. And his stuff is good.
Yeah, Converse is, since I've known him for, I think, a long time now, 6 or 7 years now, he is just like a butterfly. Full transformation. It's beautiful to see. I think he's just like a totally different man than when I first met him, which is awesome. I think also there's been a lot of talk about when you, like, Carly was now I need to do some research about ADHD because you said, like, the procrastinating. Well, I think Chris and I both are in agreement. Like, I have never been diagnosed with ADHD, so I never say I have ADHD. People will say, oh,
Your butthole.
this is gone.
Another lifetime. Thank you
Squishy
for
fart
the
noise.
43-month resub, almost 44. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. Thank you. That almost the blessed number. But I never say when people are like, oh, this is an ADHD stream. I'm like, I don't consider myself having ADHD because I've never been diagnosed by an actual doctor. But you can have, obviously you can have signs. I think obviously I probably would be diagnosed now. But like I've said and what Chris is saying, it's not going to change any aspect of who I am. It wouldn't make me feel free because I don't need it to be an identifier or give me information about myself. I already know my weaknesses. I know my strengths. So for me, like T was saying earlier, sometimes being labeled, Alley-oop said earlier, sometimes being labeled confines you, and then you feel like you have to always fit the narrative of that box, whatever that box is. So I think that, and then T wrote, I think a term is just another way to separate us and make them feel like them versus us. And I think that's what Chris said. If everyone's neurodivergent, then, maybe using that term again is not, like, using blanket terms like that can make you feel locked in. And if everybody's neurodivergent, and
instead of saying neurodivergent, it's okay to say that you have autism. If you've been diagnosed.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's a big thing though, because a lot of people, they don't have access to doctors, which is one thing. But another thing is like there is a lot of people who are self-diagnosing, which I think can be a slippery slope because you want to make sure you're also, if you are getting diagnosed with something, let's say something more drastic. Let's say you're self-diagnosing with schizophrenia. You need potentially intervention there. So it's a slippery slope of like, where do you draw the line on self-diagnosis type things? And I also feel like you can have a lot of characteristics of certain, like autism, ADHD, OCD, depression. You can have a lot of characteristics and not have all of them. And then you could be like, well, now I can't identify as that thing either. It's like Chico said, it's supposed to be information you're given, not a way.
And in very many parts of the world, we have to bring down the cost or subsidize it. It is one of the reasons why Erica Legacy Foundation has never done an in-person gala. Because if a sponsor is going to give me $50,000 to put their name on my gala poster, I'd rather have you give $50,000
for research.
And to give to people to get diagnoses.
Right. Sorry, but I'm an ambivert. Yeah, Nair said I'm quite a few software engineers are introverts since that role is somewhat conducive for it. And like we said, you and I would be licking wallpaper while they're doing the internet, making us be able to be here together right now.
Like Nair would just Yeah, he would.
Yeah,
just,
he would just yeet us off the internet.
His head would
Chico,
explode.
hot take. If you know someone is manipulating you, it is on you to shut that down. Call it out. I feel like you were trying to manipulate. Hi, Stephanie. I love you so much. Hello, Stephanie. Everybody say hi to the beautiful Stephanie. She's gracing us with her presence. I feel like you were trying to manipulate me. I told you I can't help. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like being forceful like that is always the clearest path to creating healthy boundaries?
Well,
Because that can end up being confrontational too sometimes if you take that approach where it's very like,
yeah.
you know, I feel like you're trying to manipulate me. I
do
told
you
you I
wanna
can't
know?
help. I feel like if you say to somebody who's, let's say you're a people pleaser and somebody you're trying to set
You
a
know
boundary
what?
with and you're trying to do it that way, do you feel like that
I mean,
can end up being
it could.
confrontational? Yeah.
But is it? You have to think. Is it worth it?
Right. Pick your battles. That's what we talked about earlier. Right. I think that's really, really good. Yes, Noah's. Oh, sorry, he's here. Oh my God, I'm so far behind. I have so many chats open. Alley said, any advice
your
on
battle, right?
anticipatory anxiety?
What else you want to know? My wife is now here.
Hi, Stephanie. Stephanie, do you have any advice on anticipatory anxiety? It's been a big struggle over the past few months now that I know how to identify it. I've been working on it with my therapist, but just curious.
Yeah, you got to jump into it sometimes.
Right. And not be afraid and not let the fear hold you back from doing it. Stephanie wrote, for me, the benefit of neurospicy diagnosis is that it helped me understand why so many tools like productivity techniques don't work for me. They just aren't for me. Try different ones that are for me. I think that's a really, really, really actually important thing. Like using the diagnosis of being neurospicy or neurodivergent or however you want to, phrase it, using the diagnosis to better understand yourself, but not let it hold you back, I think is really important.
And that's the thing, right? I am big on, in my province, which is a state for you guys. In my province, there's a lot of people that are working on oil. We're like Texas. Alberta's like Texas.
Yeah.
If you are a welder and you go to school for welding and you put all this money into welding and you learn all about welding,
Right.
You should be the best welder and you should represent your welding community the best you can and help others to get into it and help the knowledge base expand. And knowing that you are, whatever it is, becoming a champion of it really, really helps.
Yeah.
Because then you learn more and people will come to you and give you more information and you'll connect with others that have the same issues.
And then you'll be again not isolated. You'll have somebody to lean on, and building a community that you feel safe in that resonates with you will make it so that you can move forward through life. And then Ali wrote, I appreciate no timer for this and having an open forum. Yeah, this has been really, I knew it. I knew this was going to be like, Mara said, mental health is my number one thing. I support talking about it. I think me and Chris, how many times have we done like mental health kind of conversation? I think we've done a lot. I think there are also really good check-ins because I've been getting a lot of DMs of just what's nice is nobody really trauma dumps anymore because we do have the place to vent where people could get more into the nitty-gritty of things, which Chris, if you're not in the Discord, Chris monitors a place to vent, which is really like where people like get into it. So if it's triggering for you, do not go look. But I've been just getting a lot of DMs like thanking really me and the Poop Coven for being in a place to escape, to feel safe. And I've just gotten like wave after wave of people feeling very anxious. And so I knew that this was going to really resonate right now with a lot of poops. And you could see by the conversation that this is just, really hitting home for a lot of people. Eastinger wrote, I'm hard on myself and feel like I set super high standards. I'm still learning and trying to be less hard on myself.
Yeah, and that is an issue. That is an issue that everybody has, including that, because that then spins off into imposter syndrome a lot of times,
right.
Perfectionists and perfectionism.
Yes.
But if you are able to, here's just for everybody. If you are able to find a new rhythm, right? Here is something that I learned throughout all the research. Routine and structure. Routine and structure is very powerful because it will make you feel more in control and reduce your uncertainty, which is your anxiety. So if you can start to set in routine and structure, find a new rhythm in your life.
That's so good.
Based on routine and structure, it really does alleviate a lot of things.
Yeah. And I think for people who also like me, who, you know, I'm very, like, my skill set is obviously creative. Like, I can't do anything beep boop. I can't do math. I'm not analytical in that way. So the creative minds typically sort of push against structure. And I've learned that when I lean into structure, it allows my creativity to thrive, because now I know, oh, we're going to be doing, you know, Coven Camp, right? This massive, massive overhaul. That would be impossible without structure. It would be impossible. It's way too big. It's way too many pieces. It's way too complex. So knowing that systems have to be in place made it so that it can be possible, and it's not this huge stressful thing. And I think that's really important. Darius, I have your whole paragraph pinned. We'll talk about that. I think that's,
look at this.
I know, you're very cute with your tiny little cup.
What a fucking mug is.
OCD and ADHD share, they do share a lot of similarities, absolutely. Some of them have overlap. Oh, for sure, Shy. OCD and ADHD definitely have overlapping symptoms, and then you can throw depression will get in the swirl of that, and then you can have sort of you're tangled up with those three things. They are very often all coinciding at the same time. And Sweet Music Woman right away says, I'm diagnosed with autism, ADHD, anxiety, depression, fetal alcohol syndrome, and dyslexia. Very lucky my dad had me diagnosed as a kid. And I'm glad that those diagnoses helped you feel like you knew who you are and knew how to navigate world through that. And I think that's really important. Zero Shave, can I join? Yes, you can join. Shy says, I always suggest being firm, calm, and clear with establishing boundaries. I think that's very solid advice.
And I come from a very humble, loving place, you know?
Yeah, you always do. All right, so we're nearing the bottom. Oh my gosh, finally. And then when we end this podcast, we're going to do a giveaway for the breathing Buddha, right? Which I think is really, really
There will
sweet.
be a picture in your Discord so you can show what it is.
Zero says, not real. People who do things do not mean you know your craft. I'm not sure what that means, but if you want to elaborate, Zero Shave, I'm happy to kind of parse out what you're trying to say. Nair just got really excited that I said parse out, because I think that's like a beep boop thing, right? To parse something.
Oh my God.
I don't know if that's even true. Okay, so hold on. We're almost at the bottom. Almost at the bottom now. I need Chreesmak to stream once a month. I mean, we do stream with Chris once a month. Oh, you on yours?
I will get more onto it, because now I see that the internet's okay.
Oh, because you weren't familiar that the internet was okay. You're not in 89.
Well, in some hotels it goes really wonky.
Oh, you're talking about in hotels. I thought you were talking about like in the poop coven. That's a poop coven's all right. I'm like, oh, you don't know the poop coven now? Nothing is good, but you're talking about it likes it like the answer, even though you do the suture, it's big work. Zero Shave, if you want to give that to me one more time. Disco, hello. Okay, so it's Mara wrote, it sucks that girls are harder to diagnose with ADHD because I knew for years that's what I was. My brother was diagnosed at 8 and on Ritalin until he was 13. I wasn't diagnosed until I was 29, and when I was, everything made sense.
And let's talk about that for one moment, because what did we announce last year?
I know that the researcher at Erica Legacy is specifically focusing on women and how things are different, how misdiagnosis, how birth control affects women's brains, how women are much less likely to be diagnosed with autism. Yes, we do.
And that pilot is called what?
What was it called? I don't remember the actual name.
The Poop Coven,
right?
Pilot for women's mental health.
Yes. So,
which is, I gotta actually send you the. Well,
I want to see it.
They put out their annual report, and it says the Poop Coven.
Oh my God, I love it. And I think that was we do a charity event with Chreesmak for the Erica Legacy Foundation every September, which is Suicide Prevention Month, and it's our staple. It will be in there for the rest of our lives. We'll always do it in September, and the funding is going towards this researcher who is specifically focusing on women and how things affect women, because all of science focused on men. Oh my God, don't even get me started. We could be here for 8 hours.
Because
yeah.
4 years ago when I was here, what was one of your major issues about
birth control.
Exactly.
Destroying me from the inside out. Another thing that Brady inadvertently saved me with, because she's like, have you ever thought going off of it? And I was like, no, it never even like really. And then Aiden was already saying it, and then the two of them were like, just try. What's the worst that could happen? And then my whole life, it was like beer goggles being removed from my eyes. It was like,
yeah, because it was literally like, I remember those streams, and it was like,
I was so anxious.
It was destroying you from the inside.
I was so anxious. It was, I
and now,
look back at
What destroys you from the inside?
you set yourself up. Cyber Dial said it's nice to see this side of Chris. I mean, we do a podcast. We'll also do another podcast in September about mental health. Chris will obviously be on it again, and we can have this open forum. But I think this, I always keep my pulse on the poop coven, and I'm always very, I can feel when like the pulse is, getting more rapid, when people are feeling a little bit anxious or lost or feeling like they need a little extra ear. So I'm really glad we did this. Hi, Pander. Yes, they diagnose little girls with ADHD a lot more over boys. Society standards for women to be proper. I love that. I can't join chat. Zero, you are in chat. I just don't know what you're saying. I hate how docs say birth control is the only option. Yes. Oh, birth control, sorry. Oh, for sure. All right, we'll leave it with alley-oop. I wasn't diagnosed with autism until 29 years old. My mom hid it from me that she knew I had autism, but because she didn't want a kid with autism, she told the psychiatrist not to add it to my diagnosis list. She was recently diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, but there are things in my childhood that I did that was clearly were autism. I have so much resentment towards her because I could have had a proper therapy and struggled less. I think that's hard because your mom also wasn't diagnosed with something as well. So there was conflicting
You know what's hilarious about that?
Things.
That is
Hilarious.
the exact same story of the researcher Megan Pritzky that I've been dealing with. Her mom and her family were like not cool with it, so they didn't tell her. They didn't get her, and then she got it at like 30.
Yeah.
And now she's like the #1 autism champion in all of Canada.
Oh my God, they couldn't just wait one more minute. Allie, I'm really
Yeah.
sorry, but I'm also I'm hopeful that now you have autonomy and you're able to move through the world in a way that you feel like you have more power and control over, because parents fuck shit up all the time. They absolutely do. Oh my God.
And what about you though?
Oh my God. Cyber Dial Recycler. Okay, we're trying to just finish this little thing. Hold your anuses. Guys, you can only hold your jizz for so long.
Now, you know what I always say?
Oh my God, Chris! No! Chris, don't leave me like this! Oh my God, all right. Thank you for listening to the mental health. We can keep the conversation going in chat. I will read everything you wrote in chat. Thank you, Chris. Fucking goddamn Chris. Thank you, Chris. That was an extra girthy, that was an hour and a half segment. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh God, 34 minutes with Chreesmak.